Greetings to all of you. I want to talk today about the upcoming super full moon on August 1st. A supermoon is when the moon is in its orbit closest to the Earth. So the moon will appear larger in size than other full moons. So it makes this full moon very bright, very prominent, very powerful. And the full moon will take place with the sun at 9 degrees of Leo, the moon at 9 degrees of Aquarius. So this full moon is carrying that energy of that duality, Leo and Aquarius. Leo is that energy of the sun, of how we come into our own self-expression, our own creativity, and how we live from the heart, Leo. In its polarity, in its balance with the moon in Aquarius, the moon in Aquarius is about how are we in community? How are we beginning to experience these energies and paradigms of the Aquarian age? How do we balance our self-expression with our service to each other and our interconnectedness with each other? So in a profound way, this full moon is guiding us in how to live from the heart, be in our own self-expression and creativity in the context of being of service to others, Aquarius, and being in collaboration, in community, to be co-creating together. So I believe this full moon is supporting us in how we are finding our way through this time of transition into these new forms of the Aquarian age. I find it very significant that this beautiful, powerful, bright full moon will also be occurring on August 1st, which is the cross-quarter holiday that was honored in ancient times, especially in ancient Europe. This ancient cross-quarter holiday of Lammas or Lunasa is known in Old Europe as the time where we honor the midpoint between the summer solstice and the autumn equinox. These ancient cross-quarter holidays, I believe, were celebrated in ancient cultures around the globe as that midpoint between the solstices and the equinoxes. So we have one of these cross-quarter holidays on August 1st. This is Lammas. Samhain, October 31st or November 1st. Then we have Imbolc, February 1st, and Beltane, May 1st. So you can see with our tropical zodiac, these cross-quarter holidays are associated with the fixed signs: Lammas, Leo; Samhain, Scorpio; Imbolc, Aquarius; Beltane, Taurus. These cross-quarter holidays were times of fire ceremonies, fire festivals, honoring that energy of the shifting of the light and dark as we find that midpoint between the solstice and the equinoxes. This particular cross-quarter holiday in ancient Europe was an honoring of the first fruits of the harvest. So it was associated with the ancient Irish god Lugh, a sun god, and the honoring of his foster mother, Taltiu, who was the goddess of the grain, the goddess of the earth. So let me talk a little bit about the meaning of that cross-quarter holiday and how we can honor it as we experience this full moon on August 1st. So in ancient Europe, ancient Ireland, ancient Europe, this time of Lammas It was an honoring of the sun god, of the sun that supports the bringing of the harvest. It was about celebrating these first fruits of the harvest, the gifts of Mother Earth, to support us in giving us food and sustenance that will use and store for the coming year. The goddess Taltiu, the foster mother of Lu, was a fertility goddess, earth goddess, who supported the people by teaching them how to till the earth, create the fields, to grow the grains, to have the harvest. And the grain goddess has been honored as an ancient deity dating back thousands of years. It is our capacity to have agriculture, to grow our crops and fruits in order to be sustaining our lives through the coming year. Taltiu was this goddess who taught about agriculture, taught about growing the grains for harvest, and so gave of herself to the people in working to develop the fields and to provide the food, that she ends up dying of exhaustion in the fields. So this time of Lammas, or Lunasa, was the time where Lu, the sun god, would honor his foster mother and honor her death. So they were funerary rites, but also the honoring of the first harvest of the grain. What we have in this ancient cross-quarter holiday then is an honoring of this cycle of life, death, rebirth. That is so a part of what we learn in our relationship with the earth and in our relationship with the harvest, with the fruits of the harvest and the seeds that give birth to the harvest in the next year. That as we move through the seasonal cycle, we experience these phases of life, death, rebirth, that teach us that this is the nature of our own lives, not only our birth and life and death and then rebirth into a new life, but that we experience these phases of birthing new experiences, enduring and growing and fostering that life, the fruits of that birth, that creation, to then experience the loss or the letting go, to move into a new chapter, a new project, a new birth. This is the nature of our lives on the earth plane. And in my conversation with Kate Atwood, the interview that I did with her recently, we talk a lot about the importance of honoring this cycle and honoring our grief, honoring our loss, our letting go. If we don't honor this cycle and these phases that we go through, and if we're not willing to honor the death and the time of loss and the time of grief, then we also suppress our capacity to fully live and to give birth to what's new, what's next, the new phase in our lives. I think this is critical as we're moving through this profound transition time and feeling the energy of Pluto and Capricorn continuing to square the lunar nodes, reminding us that this is a karmic choice point. What is the path that we're going to take as humanity? And with Pluto in these final degrees of Capricorn, Pluto is reminding us that the old forms need to die in order for us to rebirth and move into the new forms of the Aquarian age and to birth these new ways of being. So we need to honor the grief, the letting go, to open to the new birth and the new life that we can move into and the new consciousness that we can co-create together. This full moon coming at the time of this ancient cross-quarter holiday is reminding us to honor the letting go and the birthing of what's new. In a profound way, it's also calling us to come back into right relationship with the earth, our earth mother, who brings us the fruits of the harvest, who does sustain us and nurture us and is supporting us and guiding us in this time of transition and transformation. Let me now show you the chart for this full moon. This may look a little complicated in that I'm including some of the Kuiper Belt objects and the centaurs, but it's very important in this full moon to look at some of these other planetary bodies and how they come into play in powerful ways at the time of this full moon. But again, you see that the sun is at 9 degrees of Leo, opposite the moon at 9 degrees of Aquarius, and they are part of a T-square with Jupiter in Taurus. Taurus is the sign of the zodiac that connects us to Mother Earth and her nurturance, and Jupiter in Taurus is supporting us in how we manifest these new forms of the Aquarian age that we're moving into, and how to have faith and trust that we are being supported by the earth and by these energies of the transition that we're in to move into these new ways of being. It's also significant that the moon is conjunct Chariklo, the centaur who is the wife of Chiron and the one who healed him, helped him when he had been wounded by the poison arrow of Hercules and was in pain and suffering across hundreds of years before he was able to release his immortality in his exchange with Prometheus in order to die and be reborn as the constellation Centaurus in the sky. But Chariklo was the one who held space for Chiron in his pain, who was there with him, for him, holding him, comforting him. Chariklo is that profound healing energy of holding presence and compassion and being there with and for each other. So as we're in this time of change, Chariklo is supporting us in coming from the heart and holding that compassion as we are Aquarius in community, in connection, in relationship with each other. And it's also significant that Chiron is trining the sun at the time of this full moon and sextiling the moon. We are being supported in this time in healing what we need to heal in terms of our sense of self, healing the out of balance paradigms of Aries and of Mars, to let go of the paradigms, the destructive patriarchal paradigms of power over, of war, of violence, to heal, to come back into balance. Aquarius, to hold that sense of how we are in right relationship with each other. And I think it is profound that at the time of this full moon, the moon is also in a grand trine with Ceres and Maki in Libra and Vesta, the asteroid Vesta, in Gemini. Ceres is the asteroid, again, that relates to the Earth Mother, to the harvest, to the nurturance of the earth. Maki is the creation deity from Easter Island, the ancient civilization there, and represents a fertility deity, the honoring of our connection with the earth, the god of fertility. Vesta is that asteroid that is about the home hearth fires and our inner fire. So it's also very associated to keeping alive our inner fire and Vesta is that asteroid that is related to the goddess of the hearth and the eternal flame. And how amazing is it that this grand trine with the full moon comes at the time of Lammas, this cross-quarter holiday that was celebrated with fire ceremonies. And this grand trine is all about the importance of honoring the earth and her fertility and all that she gives to us. And with Cheroklo, how can we come back into a healing relationship with the earth? If we are, as humanity, going to heal and move through this transformation into the new paradigms of the Aquarian age, a critical part of that healing is to release our patterns of exploitation and of destruction, to come back into right relationship with the natural world. This is the ancient wisdom that cultures carried and indigenous people continue to live, that understanding Libra of right relationship, being in harmony, in balance, not only with each other, but with the natural world, with the life around us. If we don't remember how to come back into harmony and right balance and relationship with the sacredness of the life around us, we will be on a path of destruction. But this full moon is saying it's time to heal and time to come back into balance, to remember our connection with the earth and with each other, to heal the trauma from the past, to let go of the distortions of the patriarchal period, to come back into community and co-create these new ways of being together. I also want to point out that at the time of this full moon, Venus is retrograde, is at 26 degrees of Leo, very close to the royal star Regulus, and within a few days is going to move within 13 degrees of the sun and disappear from view. She is in her cycle as moving from being an evening star to her disappearance to her eventual reemergence as a morning star. And I'm going to talk in my next video more in depth about the Venus cycle and the profound meaning of the time where she goes into conjunction with the sun at the time of her inferior conjunction, which will be occurring on August 13th, just a few days before the new moon on August 16th. But I'll talk more about that in my upcoming video. Let me show you where this full moon is in the sky at the time of the full moon. You can see that while the moon is in the sign of Aquarius in the tropical zodiac, she is in the stars of Capricornus at the time of the full moon. And interestingly enough, one of the goddesses that are associated with the sign of Capricorn in this constellation is Persephone, the grain goddess, the goddess of the underworld, again, who carries that understanding of the time of harvest as death, rebirth, where the cycle of life, death, rebirth. At the time of this full moon, I encourage you, do your own fire ceremony. Light a candle or have a fire in a fire pit or a fireplace. Honor the energy of the sun. Honor the energy of Mother Earth and how she, here in the Northern Hemisphere, is gifting us with the grains, with the fruits of the harvest for our nurturance, for our sustenance. In the Southern Hemisphere, honor how it is that midpoint between the winter solstice for you and the fall equinox. It is this cross-quarter holiday where we're honoring the movement of the sun and of the energies of the light and dark, the cycle of the year, the cycle of the seasons, that are teaching us about this movement through the times of birth, life, death, rebirth, just as every lunar cycle is guiding us to honor that process with the birth of the crescent moon, how it grows and emerges and blooms into the full moon and then begins to wane and die until it disappears in the dark of the moon to be birthed anew. We on the earth plane are in this cycle of birth, life, death, rebirth. That is a part of our experience of embodiment. And as we can honor that and remember that we are soul selves having a human experience, we are eternal. Our souls are a part of the infinity of the cosmos. We are here to experience embodiment, to experience the joy of birth, of growth, of life, of moving through loss and experiences of death in order to experience the new birth. As we can honor that cycle, we move beyond our fear. We understand the energy of alchemy and transformation and how we are here on the earth plane to grow, evolve, and deepen in our understanding of love and wisdom and embodiment. Then we can be a part of the sacredness of all of life, of the creativity of the cosmos that surrounds us in all of the life forms around us. It is when we fear death that we actually foster death. When we're afraid of death, we're afraid to fully live. And we live in this constriction and this fear. Remember that phrase, what we resist persists. What we repress, we act out. If we repress that cycle and try to deny loss and death, we actually act it out in war, in violence, in destruction. We are currently in the 6th great extinction on the planet, to a great extent fostered by our human destruction. We need to heal, let go of our predatory nature, let go of that pattern of destruction and denial of death. It's when we honor the cycle and hold that honoring of death, rebirth, and that we can actually fully honor life and be fully in our lives in a way that we thrive and live not out of fear, but out of joy. And then we can remember how to be in right relationship and connection with each other and the life around us in a way then we are fostering this healing dynamic of interdependence, interconnectedness, the joy and mystery and magic of being a part of the wonder of life. Lammas, this foster mother of the ancient sun god Lu, Hal to you. The goddess Tel to you, the earth goddess, who gave of her life to nurture and support us, just as Mother Earth gifts us with the plants and animals who die in order for us to live and to be nurtured and supported. How are we able to come back into that understanding of how we need to honor the earth, give of ourselves, honor our relationships with the plants and animals so that we are back in balance, so that we are back in the fullness of life? and that cycle of life, death, rebirth that is the cycle of the earth and of our journey on the planet. This full moon is supporting us in healing, in doing a fire ceremony in which we can honor what we're letting go of. We can honor what we need to release. We can honor what needs to die in order to honor what is being birthed anew, and to energize these paradigms of the Aquarian age, to energize these new ways of being, to remember what it means to come back into right harmony, right relationship. When we can heal and reclaim our wholeness and honor that cycle of life, death, rebirth, then we can stop fostering war. We can stop the cycle of destruction. We can stop our exploitation of nature and our destruction of the plants and animals around us. We can come back into truly being alive and thriving and be in the joy and mystery of the oneness of all of life and the sacredness of this experience of embodiment. May we together honor this time of the full moon, honor this cross-quarter holiday of Lammas, honor that we are part of this cycle of life, and come back into balance to together co-create the new paradigms of the Aquarian age that are about being a part of the symphony of the spheres and the beauty and magic of the cosmos in right relationship, in harmony, honoring the sacredness of life. Blessed be.